What's up, Cosmic Travelers? Here we are again for another weekly roundup of what's been going on in the world of J. Fitzpatrick Mauldin. Now, this past week, my professional career did dominate most of my life. We had a really big leadership meeting, which actually turned out to be really, really good. It was super effective and a lot of fun, and always great to connect with leaders within our organization. However, it did dominate most of my time. Some things that I got to do, though, as part of this leadership meeting that was kind of fun, that I've never gotten to do before, is I actually got to conduct a Jeopardy game for a group of people. And so I've never been Alex Trebek before. I look very different, of course. However, it was a lot of fun to do, and the game ended up turning out just fine. Of course, there were some finer points to the rules I did not know, and I had to do quite a bit of research on that. But it was a whole lot of fun. Of course, writing has continued as well in my secret project, or my untitled project. Not really secret project, because I've talked to you guys about it quite a bit, and that is the Untitled Lit RPG that I am working on right now. And so we've gotten further in the story. We are now up to 4 out of 7 chapters. So I'm going to write 7 chapters, and then I'm going to go back. And I'm going to end up going back to the 3rd book of the Foundry, and we're going to work on that. In these 4 chapters that I've already written, there's a lot going on right now. I am debating back and forth whether I want to add a prologue to this. So I'm currently reading the book, Your First 50 Pages, highly recommended from a lot of wonderful authors. And what this book really does is it helps you focus in on what are the most important aspects of the first 50 pages of the book. You know, the setup, how you handle show versus tell, how you make sure you introduce the character. And one of the concepts that I've been struggling with this particular story is, will I create a prologue? And I think what I have settled on is yes. Because the first chapter of the book is really about the character, it's really about the situation that they're in their personal life, but they do not yet know of the situation that's going on globally when it comes to this event that's going to happen across the universe, that's going to be the inciting incident of the primary conflict of the story. All of that is to say, I could sum that up in just a couple paragraphs in a short prologue, which is what I think I'm going to do, especially in my early beta tests, and see what everybody thinks about that. So it's been great to be able to go through and read a craft book again. I highly recommend, if any of you out there are writers or are wanting to write, that you spend time reading things like The Story Grid, Save a Cat, 50 First Pages. Find some of your favorite authors like Stephen King and read his book on writing. You know, get some great resources like the Emotional Dictionary or Webster's Word Menu. Just, there's a lot of tools out there to help you write and to help clarify and focus the thoughts and ideas that you have. And just like anything else you do in life, you have to become a student of it. So writing is one of those things. It's a journey, not a destination. There's not going to be a day I wake up and is like, I have become the writer that I want to be. I will always want to be a better writer and a better communicator from this point in my life all the way until the end of my life. And I will be better at the end of my life than I am now, but I will never be the perfect writer, because we're not perfect as human beings either. And so I'd encourage you to just keep at it and keep learning and keep growing. The 2nd book in the Foundry series, of course, The Transcendence, has now been out for a couple weeks, and it's really fun to watch every single day. The 2 books in the series battle each other for sales and for read-throughs through Kindle Unlimited. And it's become a fun little daily task for me. This month is going to mark the best month I've ever had as far as sales since I have started writing in 2017. That is to say, I think I've finally figured out the right buttons and the right levers to push, and I'm very excited that people are loving this book. Had a couple great 5-star reviews on the first book recently, and one of them just the other day. They left a review. You can go check it out on Amazon for the Foundry, and it's just exciting to see people are finally connecting with it. Oftentimes as writers, we focus on the 1-star reviews, or the ones that people, just for whatever reason, they ended up finding your story and this story was not for them. And I can tell you this, it is okay for people not to like your stories. I have a note here on my writing desk that says, books should be polarizing. And what I mean by that is not that they should be polarizing in the sense of like always cause like political drama or social drama, which, I mean, you can very much do that in writing, and I think it's an effective medium, especially when you're writing through fantasy or science fiction, because you can kind of remove the audience from these particular issues a couple of steps so that people can get a new perspective. All of that said, though, what I mean is either a book is for you or it is not for you. There are a handful of people, and actually there's one person that is a friend of mine who, when I write a book, I say I'm writing it for this person. I'm not writing it for anybody else. If anyone else wants to come along on the journey, awesome. But I know what this person's motivations in life are, where they are in the life stage, things that are important to them, things that they respond to, and so on and so on and so on. And that oftentimes some writers will call, finding your Timothy, which means that avatar of your ideal reader. And so finding that has been super valuable for me. And honestly, I can see that it has worked because, well, I mean, these two books are actually kind of selling now, which is super exciting. There was also a report that came out recently from Written Word Media. They do it every single year where they go through all the stats of indie authors versus traditional authors. And they give a great perspective on how each are doing and the different ranges on this. And the income range that I have reached usually only happens when people hit 10 to 15 books. So I feel pretty proud about that. And thank you all for totally vibing with this series and understanding what I was after and just being a part of that, because it's really, really cool. Another thing I want to talk about real quick before we kind of close out, and this is more on a personal end of things, and it is that I had a really long conversation with one of my family members recently, and it is interesting to me that as we get older, of course, we're always seeking to kind of wrap up loose ends and to make our lives better. We all do it. And there are certain things that just kind of don't come out until later in life that probably should have been talked about or dealt with decades ago. Okay, these are very very personal things, traumas that may have happened, whatever they may be. And I think it's important that we work hard as human beings to try to face some of those as early as we can in life. For my parents' generation and beyond, it seems to be that it was in their 60s or in their 70s sometimes that they deal with it. Gen Xers, I've seen it's kind of around their mid-40s or 50s. I've seen millennials, it's more around like in their 30s that they start doing. Like, I'm seeing this happen earlier and earlier, but it's that quote-unquote doing the shadow work, if you've heard people say that, is of actually taking time to reflect upon who you are, what you want out of life, and all the challenges that you have gone through, and just coming face to face with you. I spend a great deal of time with myself writing, and so I have a different perspective than most people would around really facing yourself, what challenges you have personally, and really all the conversations that are going on inside your head. I honestly feel like there are two Patricks inside of my body. There's one that's very much wants stability and wants to make sure everybody's taken care of and everything's fine and we're following the rules and doing all the things that we need to. And then there's another side of me that wants novelty, that wants excitement, that wants to do wild and creative things, that wants to just kind of be unhinged and unbridled. And these two sides of my personality, I used to think one was bad and one was good, and they used to butt heads with each other. But back in January, I decided that I didn't want to drink anymore. I just decided that this was the year I was going to quit drinking. And so I'm not saying I'll never drink again. I don't think I was caught too far inside of any patterns of like substance use disorder, but I definitely was seeing that this particular part of my life was not serving me. I was terrified though that maybe that's where my ideas came from. Maybe that's where my creativity came from. Maybe that's where I became a little bit unhinged to see the world differently than it is in those moments where, you've had a few drinks and you're just kind of letting your brain do whatever. What I learned is that's not true. So that shadow side of me, that creative side that wants the novelty and all the different things, I realized that part of me just needs things that are different than the stable part of me. And not all of those things are fed through, say, drinking or hanging out with people drinking or any of that kind of stuff. Like, I can still do those same things in a sober state of mind. And so it may sound simple, it may sound odd, but I mean, it took me until the age of 41 to be able to come to that. And not that I've ever, I started drinking like super early or anything. It was about in my mid 20s. but I haven't really gone during that time period very long without having a drink or a few drinks or whatever it may be. So the idea of just quitting seemed kind of foreign to me because, well, what if I have a hard day and I need a drink? And those were questions where I started going, well, Patrick, if you think like that, then maybe that is the challenge that you're trying to overcome. So all of that is to say, if you are dealing with some kind of mental challenge, or you're thinking about stopping drinking or something else that you've been doing, I'm just going to say, don't be so worried that it's going to alter you, take away some of those good things that you may think that you're getting from it, because you are the person that you are on the inside, and really all that substance is doing is reducing some of the noise around you. And so what you just have to do is be more intentional about it. I've gotten better about what I eat. I've gotten better about my exercise, which I've always exercised pretty well. Not always, but past 5 or 6 years. You know, I spend time in reflection and meditation, so to speak, not like sitting down and like, you know, hum and all that, but putting headphones on, listening to music, just letting my brain travel the universe. I do that quite often. And all of this has, those two sides of me have realized that, hey, we need each other, and we are this person that is Fitzpatrick Mauldin here. And that is 100% okay. And they're both okay with each other now. So I'm just going to tell you, it was totally worth it for me. And if you feel like you're at a point in your life where you can do that, I would encourage you to just go for it. Because I'm happier now, I think, than I've ever been in my life. And I think I have more clarity about who I am as a person, where I want to go, and the things I want to accomplish while I'm on this planet. And so stay encouraged in that, guys. But that's all that we have for this time. Until next time, guys, safe journeys, cosmic travelers. We'll see you later.